Okay, so I have all the rear brake parts disassembled and cleaned. The parts I'm going to keep, put it in a bag, and this is all ready to go get vapor blasted. Now the rear caliper piston was seized in there. I had a heck of a time trying to get it out. So I was able to get it out just enough to put some pliers on it and take it out. It was damaged, so we'll have to get a new one. All right, now it's time to start taking apart the front brake and get all the parts prepped for vapor blasting. Okay, so the front brake all disassembled. I ran all the parts through an ultrasonic cleaner to get off all the dirt and grease. Now I can take the bigger parts and have them vapor blasted. And then once I get all that back, I can go ahead and rebuild it. The pistons were really, actually only one of them was really stuck in there pretty bad. Took a little doing, but I got it out. So other than that, ready to rock. Okay, so here's the ultrasonic cleaner, Central Machinery. It's a Harbor Freight special. And you know, it works pretty good. So it's small. You can only fit a few parts in at a time, but I run it for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. I use a solution of water and some simple green, heavy duty, the purple simple green. Just dilute it. You don't need much. If you put too much in, seems like it can kind of darken some of the aluminum parts. So I just use it to clean off any of the dirt and grease and grime and things like that. Might take off a little bit of the rust too, but works pretty good. And then I'll rinse it off with water once it's done, all the parts. Okay, so I have two petcocks. One of them came on the tank on the bike, but that tank was messed up. So I bought a new tank, well, a new used one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take these apart. I'll probably just replace this anyways, but I'll clean them up. You know, I could probably salvage some of these parts and have a spare, because these things like to leak over time. All right, so this is ye old Airbox. It's pretty crusty. I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart, clean it. You know, I've seen some of these used ones on eBay, and they're pretty banged up. At least, you know, the mounting areas aren't completely cracked through. I can brace those up with some washers. These are apparently notorious for air leaks around here, so we'll take this all apart and then clean it really good, and then seal it with some silicone, and then put it back together. But it's pretty crusty. She needs some love. Alright, so I have the Airbox all cleaned and disassembled. Man, this thing was a bear to get clean. It was just full of mud and grease, and it was all messed up. So the little flap on top was already broken when I got it. That laid on top of the, I believe, the subframe. So I just cut that straight, cleaned it up, cleaned up all the mating surface where the air boot attaches to. Everything else looks good. The tabs aren't broken. So Go ahead and use that. Got the air boot all cleaned. This thing was really pretty nasty. Okay, got that ready to rock. The flange that sits on the inside that holds the air filter had a lot of old sealant from Honda on there. Had to use some acetone and get it cleaned off. That took a while. There's actually 5 little studs on here, and 2 of them are kind of messed up. It's a 5mm. I don't have a die for that. Might see if I can get one to chase those. 2 of the nuts don't want to seem to go on there. The nuts might be kind of messed up a little bit, so I ordered 2 new of those. We'll see how that works out. So got it all ready to go back together. I'm going to use Permatex Ultra Black gasket maker. It's oil resistant. Go ahead and I'm going to put a bead around here and inside the air boot flange so it seals. I guess these were notorious for air leaks, so we'll get all that put back together. Okay, so I have the Airbox all put back together now. Came out really good. I'm happy with it. So I used this Ultra Black gasket maker, which is oil resistant, and I put a bead all around on the inside of this plate. As you can see, it kind of squeezed out a little bit. So I got a good seal. Wiped off any of the excess on the inside here, along the outside, and then same thing on the rubber boot itself. It sits over each side of this plastic box, so in that channel I put a bead all around that rubber boot too, and got some new hardware. A couple of these threads were kind of messed up, so I had to get a die. It's a 5mm, and just clean up the threads because some of them got a little bent, I guess just from use. So, and then got some new nuts, and we're ready to rock. Hopefully it should be nice and sealed, keep out any dirt and dust and sand and all that stuff. So looking good. Okay, so I have the suspension linkage ready to disassemble. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this all apart. All the bearings I'm sure are pretty toast in here, so we'll go ahead and replace that. The hardware, some of this hardware is pretty chewed up. These bolts and nuts, even this one here where it holds the roller, chain roller, I think it's pretty well toast. But I have new ones, so it'll be nice. So let's go ahead and take it apart. Sound strap. Sound strap. All right, so I got it all apart. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of wood, bore out a hole so that I can go ahead and drive out these races. And then these 2 pieces will be ready for vapor blasting. Get them cleaned up. Some of the edges are kind of chewed up, so I'll go ahead and kind of clean that up, smooth it out, and away we go. All right, that one's done. Ready to be cleaned up and vapor blasted. All right, so I have another bonus part here. Now the intake boot that came off of the bike was flush. That went to the V-Force 3 reed cage. Now, I did a little research, and it turns out that the OEM intake boot, which I was able to score, has these tabs or these stuffers. And what you have to do is you have to modify the intake boot. You got to cut those off in order to run the V-Force 3. So I have this set up. I'll keep it. But I was able to get my hands on one of these. Now this is the OEM reed cage. I think I got the last one left. I was just doing some research, you know, checking some dealers, Honda dealers, you know, all over the place. And I found one, you know, brand new in the box. So I know the V-Force 3 is good. It hits hard. But, you know, just doing the restoration, I kind of wanted to have the OEM set up too. So what's nice is I got both. And as you can see, this fits in there perfectly. Just like that. So it was meant to be. Perfect. So go ahead and run this. You know, another thing too, which, you know, I'm glad I was able to get this from a dealership, because, you know, if you buy them, if you could find NOS, new old stock, you know, on eBay, there's one of these, you know, and the guy's asking twice the price. So just had to do my homework, look around. You might be able to find some of these unobtainium parts. Okay, so something else that I wanted to just talk about was Pro X racing parts. So, you know, I've been out of dirt bikes for a little while, kind of getting back into it. And I wasn't familiar with Pro X. I started doing some research and found out that, you know, a lot of it's OE quality. It's made in Japan by the same manufacturers that make the OEM parts, you know, for, you know, Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, whatever. So I was checking them out. I got a couple of rollers for my chain rollers. I noticed these were made in China, so I think some of their smaller parts and smaller rebuild kits and things are made in China. Is it a big deal? You know, I don't know. I'd like to keep it original if I can, but sometimes you just can't. Some of these rollers, one of them was discontinued and one of them was really expensive. You know, this is the OEM one that came off the bike. You know, it's pretty close, so we'll go ahead and give these a try. Now, I got a clutch part that I wanted to check out too. This is the inner clutch hub. It says Made in Japan. So I just wanted to check out the quality on that. Says it fits Honda CR250 92 to 07, as well as some of the CRF450R models. Yep, looks pretty good to me. It's got a KZ3 stamp on the inside. A lot of the Honda parts do, so. And it's a little less in price compared to the OEM. So we'll go ahead and run it. Looks good.